A complete educational experience, the community of inquiry, focuses on these three circles. And why we talk about it so much is, especially those of you that are using Yellowdig now, we're hoping that you see each of these circles happening in Yellowdig. We spent a lot of time focusing on the orange circle about building that social presence and that community experience. But what we hope that you're starting to see as you're using Yellowdig is that there are easy and effective ways to show your instructor presence, your teaching presence, that ties in to your course concepts, that cognitive presence, which are intersected with the social learning. So that's when students are coming into Yellowdig and they're posting comments or ideas or examples that connect to your course topic, to the course topic. And then we're enhancing that community because learners are learning to talk to one another. You're showing your presence in easy ways, and it's all connecting with the cognitive processing in class. All right, by show of hands again, who has seen this chart and the next chart, which looks slightly different? Yes, yes, yes. All right, okay. So the reason we show these two slides is a paradigm shift. When we think about typical questions or discussions or social assignments, whether that's in the classroom or online, a lot of times it is instructor-led. So the instructor poses a question and then learners respond. So thank you, Deborah. So if we're looking at that, we've got the instructor at the beginning of the week, and then you might have that early bird who comes in and posts a question, and then other people trickle in. But then what happens is we stop having conversations. And you can see as we go all the way to week 5, that early bird is no longer an early bird because they weren't getting the benefit of having the conversations with one another. But if we go to the next slide, the Yellowdig community is structured so it's one assignment throughout the term, whether that's a semester or accelerated classes. And so perhaps at the beginning, and I do see we have some instructional designers and some instructors, perhaps at the beginning of the week, you're going ahead and being a model citizen of Yellowdig and showing what kind of posts you're hoping that learners will come in there as. And so you've got some connection there in week 1. But then all of a sudden, we can start to see a student starter in week 2 because they're like, okay, I get it. I get what you're looking for. I read this or I watched this in class or you talked about this during your lecture. And now I'm going to make that connection to something I saw in the real world, whether that's professionally or through TED Talks or YouTube videos or TikTok videos, whatever it is. They're starting to make those connections. So now that instructor is coming in different places. But what I mainly love about this chart is how the conversation scaffolds. So yep, right there, week 4, we're making those connections to maybe to topics that are in week 5, or in week 5, we're going back to week 4. We're not just talking about a topic and then leaving it behind. We're scaffolding the understanding and building it to make the connections so that perhaps in week 5, all of a sudden you see an example of something that you talked about a few weeks ago. Students or learners can do that. So thank you for listening to those two. I'm going to what's that called? Popcorn it back to you, Deborah. So you can show what's a day in the life of a Yellowdig instructor look like.
Oh, I love that. So yes, we are going to kind of model, as we like you to model the behavior in a Yellowdig community. We're going to model what it looks like for you to be A productive member in your Yellowdig community. What's your role? What do you do? How do you enjoy it as much as the students enjoy it? And how do you really get to know your students? So let me tell you, let's imagine it's Monday morning, right? You're not going into your community or you're not going into your LMS to grade discussion posts. I don't know, in my roles through the years, that would be a big motivator in itself, right? I get to go in as an instructor and be an active community member. And how does that look? What do I do? Well, first of all, I'm a big coffee drinker, so I would have a cup of coffee. I would go in and I would read, I would look at some of the posts, I would comment. I wouldn't start new posts necessarily, but I would comment. I could comment on a post and I could attach an article that I saw maybe over the weekend or a video or something in real life that connects to that post. And then you can go in and you could also kind of to be the guide on the side, right? You can go in and give accolades very easily, right? You can go in and give those accolades depending on your accolades that you have created. And those accolades, as we know, can be content specific if you would like. But this is what your Monday morning looks like. You're going in, you're commenting on some posts, you're giving some accolades, you're rewarding the behavior that you like to see in your community. You may want to see if they've talked enough or how much they have discussed the topic tag personality. You can click on the topic tag, double click on that, and Janine's going to tell you about how to filter it, how to filter those conversations as well. Another idea of a productive community member that you are in Yellowdig, you could go in and copy a permalink. You're like, oh, this conversation right here is right on. I love that. I love the way they connected to week 1 and connected to week 2 and then brought in some a video. So you're going to copy this permalink. And maybe you are going to make a course announcement like, hey, check out this conversation. Or maybe you meet with your class through Zoom on Wednesday or even in class. So anytime you have an opportunity to talk about what the talk is in Yellowdig, talk about talking in Yellowdig, if you will, do so. Because like anything, that motivates them to get back in to see what's happening, right? Another way you can really show your presence in Yellowdig that's more enjoyable is by doing @mentions, right? So you can, if you see a specific comment or post and you want to bring it to another student's attention because maybe you saw they were having that conversation earlier, you know they're interested in that, you can do @mentions. And @mentions, of course, notifies them, which is the bell over here, that they have been mentioned in a post. So there are so many valuable ways that you can enjoy Yellowdig. And you know, what I'm doing right here, you'll look at the amount of time it's taking me to talk about it and actually do it. You might want to pin a post. You can do that as well. You can go in and give some reactions, right? And so knowing how and when to be a valuable member in your community is game changing, because the students do see you as just that, as a community member that's adding to the content, rewarding the behavior that you would like to see in your Yellowdig community. So it doesn't have to be something that you dread, but we do say coming in every day. And again, I'm a coffee drinker, so I'd say morning coffee and Yellowdig would be my thing. And just get a pulse on the conversations that are going on, just like you would, not that this is social media, but just like you may in LinkedIn or even other social media that you may have. So being that guide on the side and not the sage on the stage is pretty enjoyable and pretty easy to do in Yellowdig.
Hey, Deb, thank you. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a question that we get from a lot of instructors or something that instructors are trying to clarify. So what would they use pin pinning a post? Like, what are some of the things that they might pin? I mean, are they posting a question? Is that what they're supposed to do? Or what are they supposed to do for pinning?
No. For instance, I would say, as an instructor, what I would do to pin a post, for instance, I know a lot of instructors, when they first are starting to use Yellowdig, they will go in and make sure the post is pinned about how to be a productive member in Yellowdig, right? They want that at the top. And then after they have, maybe it's that they've created a, let's see, I'm going to go into a question just so I have a tag. Maybe they also did a 90-second video about using Yellowdig, and they want that to stay at the top for a while, right? And so they're going to want to pin that. And then when that has served its time there, they can go ahead and unpin it. Or if there's a conversation, or if, let's say, there's a topic that hasn't been discussed that much, and you kind of want to bring it to the forefront. By the way, when you comment or you do an accolade, it brings it to the top of the feed, but you want to pin it to really draw more emphasis to that post about those topics.
Okay. And just to clarify, just clarify for everybody, the pinning doesn't go away automatically. You have to go in and unpin it.
Yes, correct.
So how often, like how long should a post be pinned? One post be pinned?
Yeah, I personally would not leave it up there that long. I think depending on what post it is. For instance, if it's like the video that you made about how to be a successful Yellowdigger, you might want to leave that up there for 2 weeks, but I would suggest, no longer than a week on most posts. Because again, it is a fluent community with organic conversation. And by giving accolades, that brings posts to the top. And also by you commenting on different posts, that brings it to the top as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Any other questions in the chat or Q&A?
Yeah, Sarah gave us some feedback. She pins posts that she thinks are particularly good or interesting that she wants to make sure students see. So Sarah, I am gathering from that comment that you mean you pin posts of other students or other learners. Is that right? I'll give you a second to type that in, but that's a great idea is posting something you want everyone to see. Yes. Great. That's a great example of pinning posts. And then while are you still composing, Deborah? Do you mind composing and just showing us the @ mentions? Because because there is a feature that instructors can also send a notification to the entire class.
Yes. So if you want to send a notification to the entire class, you would use @community, right? And that, again, will notify them in the bell or an email, depending on how they have their settings. So also, as Janine mentioned, you may want to just mention a particular student, right? And students can do this as well. So it's important for you to, again, model that behavior, because when they see you use @ and that person, they can use it as well. They can't do the @community mention, but they can use @ and the student's name. As one of our, Sarah, I believe, talked about pinning posts, this is also another way to draw attention to those stellar posts and connect content all the way through the Yellowdig community. And again, by giving an accolade, that brings that post to the top to kind of highlight it.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. So that's kind of the day-to-day. Like you just come in on whatever time works for you. You might be the morning coffee drinker like Deborah, who actually starts work right now at 6 a.m. her time. I just want to point that out to everybody. Or you might be the late bird or the late owl who wants to go in and look through these posts before you go to bed. So whatever pattern works for you, it doesn't have to be at the same time every day in terms of the students. That's the whole purpose of Yellowdig, is that people are going in at a time that works for them. They're not trying to hit deadlines. It's So I'm going to say that again. This is no long, we have to, a lot of times learners have been conditioned to say, okay, this is due by Wednesday night at midnight, and then reply Sunday. And we want to change that paradigm. We want to encourage students just to come on in there whenever they can during the week, even if they, and I primarily taught professional learners, so people that are managing families and work, and they were able to get it in on breaks from work, or maybe when they're waiting to pick up their kids in car line, so they can go in and just make a comment to somebody else, or do a thumbs up or a reaction. So the question is there a difference in how students are notified by @mentions, accolades, or comments? That is a good question. So when you @mention them, they will get a notification based on their notification settings, whether that's by email or just with the bell. When they get an accolade, they will have that in their log, in their points log, that shows them that they received an accolade and what's that for, just like comments as well. And it also, and when they, typically when you do get a comment, you will be notified if that's how your notification settings are set.
Yes. And also, Janine, just to jump on that a little bit more, there is the accolade widget on the right side that shows who got accolades and for what. So their picture or their profile will show up as well. Great question, Sarah. Let us know if you have a follow-up to that.
Okay, I'm going to go back to our community. I am going to take over sharing the screen. So as we said, so that's kind of just your daily, your quick visit to Yellowdig. Now, if you have a little bit more time and want to dig a little bit deeper, I'm going to show you we're going to talk about some of those reports, because my guess, if you're like me, you've seen the reports sometime, but now that you've got learners in the class, you're taking a closer look at them. So the widget that Deborah was just talking about is right here, this recent accolades. And if you click on them, it'll show you for what, and students will see this as well. So that can be helpful for them. Deb mentioned the filter feature. So that's something that you and learners can both do, is you can sort by those accolades if you'd like. And for example, that verified response, which is the way we define verified response, is you as the instructor went in, saw somebody's post, it was like, yes, that's right on. You are explaining a concept beautifully. I'm going to put a verified response on there so that other students who may be struggling with that concept or need to hear it a different way can go and filter on that verified response. And then if they want to filter by verified response and a topic, so let's say that I want to know more about emotional intelligence, but I want to look at those sources that have the accolade for the verified response. Unfortunately, nobody got any verified responses for emotional intelligence here, but that's another way that you and learners can filter when you're going in there. What I'm going to take a deeper look into are some of the reports. So that's under data. And we're going to look at this community health a little bit more closely than we may have when you first were introduced to it. And I'm actually just going to go right through all 4 of these, the summary health check topics and by member. And so it defaults to showing activity for all time, but you can also break this down by week if you wanted just to see. So remember, we're thinking, okay, I've got a little bit more time today. I want to really take a look at what our learners are doing. Or if you're an instructional designer, how classes are looking. And so you can sort it by week if you want to just take a look at, well, how are things going? The semester or the term just started, how did they look? So at a glance, we can see that there were 25 posts and 79 comments. And just to make sure everybody's clear about that, the post is when you're doing create. The comments is when you actually click the comment button. And then the reactions are those emojis. And just to clarify, I mean, Deb said this as well. I had a conversation with one of my students. She said, I don't know what to do about reactions when I get a reaction. I don't know how to respond to that. And I explained to her, I said, well, from my perspective, I give a reaction to let you know I'm reading and that I'm seeing it, and that I don't necessarily want to, as an instructor, don't want to interrupt the conversation, but I want you to know that I'm here and I'm listening. And so after she heard that explanation, she's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So it's a way for me, maybe I don't, as a learner or student, they don't have anything else to add, but they want to show other students in the class that they were listening. Now go ahead.
Kind of think of it as LinkedIn, right? If I go in there and I read some interesting articles and posts and so forth, I don't say something about every one of them, but I do react to a lot. So that's kind of the connection I make with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And now here's that conversation ratio. And I think that this is a unique number. And so now that you're in here, now that you're digging in deeper, you should start to see this number going up. So to clarify, the conversation ratio is how many comments to a post. So in that model of post once, reply twice, the conversation ratio is 2. So this is a demo community. This conversation ratio, we do hope grows. We're shooting for an 8, a conversation ratio of 8. However, you should hopefully see that there's going to be a conversation ratio of at least 5 as learners are having those conversations back and forth. And you can see at a glance here, again, we've got all time or broken down by week. You can see, like, is there a dip? So did people around week 5 or 6, is it midterms? And so are they overwhelmed and they don't have as much time to come into Yellowdig? Are they posting or commenting more? What's going on? Are learners here just posting and then leaving, or are they having conversations? This accolade feature can help you or your instructors just see at a glance how many accolades are you giving out each week. Because we do recommend that accolades are used to illustrate exemplary posts, or to really encourage, maybe you've got a student who was shy or reluctant to post, they posted something and you give them a badge of courage. So it's really, your accolades are there not to be given out for every post, but also it helps you to see, okay, maybe I need to cut back on my accolades, or maybe I need to up the game on the accolades. And then how many reactions are happening, because those reactions show us listening, and that is pretty important. Deborah, do you want to add anything on this page before I go to the health check?
You might click on the topics.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's very formative assessment. We talked a little bit about the topic tags and maybe bringing one back up that hasn't been discussed as much, and you would like more discussion to happen or conversation about that.
Mm-hmm. So this is where our formative assessments are. We're seeing what learners are talking about. And then if you scroll down even more, you can see what percentage each student, what percentage they're spending time on. So if we see any learners here that are maybe they have a really high percent of just introductions, maybe we need to reach out to that learner, for example. But this is very formative. I want everybody to remember this, because we're going to come back and show you how you can reorganize topics as you're getting into the semester or term. Mm-hmm. And it does organize by these different categories, or you can put it in alphabetical order. Let's go back for a second to the health check. So this health check, again, just making sure everybody is aware that when you click on the different pages, different things are coming up. I say that maybe because I didn't know that at first when I was using Yellowdig. And so the sharing, that's the post. What are people posting? But you do get your average number of word count in here, links shared, multimedia items shared. So this is great. This is, and I just heard this, we've got a new use case, and the instructor reached out and said, yeah, people are sharing links and videos, and it's really interactive. And so we can see all of that, or what's going on this sharing score. For the listening score, that's going to be, let's say, average number of posts viewed. So you can have that information so you can see, are learners looking? Are they viewing? We can see that conversation ratio and what hyperlinks are being clicked, or how many. And that interaction is how many posts have one or more comments, how many users are connected, how many reactions are given. And I guess I should take this moment, and Deb, you can pop in here. Well, actually, why don't I ask you? So here is the class, your community, and then what are we comparing it to here?
Yeah, so if you click on that little circle right next to global, yeah, it will clarify exactly what we mean by that. And then throughout each of these circles, you have that information. I like to point that out because we could talk about it in the webinar, but having the tool right there to clarify it, I think is important.
Okay. And then if we're comparing to global, that's everybody in Yellowdig, right? So not just your school.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But we can select to see how we're going to compare it to the rest of our school if we wanted, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And then this last tab is by member, which is really helpful too. And this has a little less information than our member report. And the member report can be exported into a CSV file. So maybe an Excel spreadsheet or Google sheet. But this one is helpful because I can see right here as an instructor, who's posting, who's not posting, who's giving comments, or is somebody giving all posts and no comments? Is this person receiving comments? Are they given reactions? Are they receiving reactions? But here's the little nice category right here. These two categories right here for the instructors. Accolades, so you can see if you've gotten everybody. I mean, I know in those 800-person classes, it's going to be a little bit more difficult than in our 100 or less classes, but you can see right here, are you reaching out to everybody? Why or why not? That helps because sometimes always the most active posts come to the top, and those are the ones that you see. And a lot of times we might get into that habit of giving the accolades there. So this can be helpful and informative. And then we do have a points report, but we also have it right here so you can see at a glance, how are people tracking? What is in our chat, Deborah?
Let's see. Have you ever heard of an instructor who uses the data on accolades received to provide a way to grade quality to add to students' course points? The accolades are worth points, right? So you get extra points when you get accolades.
And so is the question, have we ever heard of an instructor who uses the accolades kind of as an assessment? Let's see.
Yes.
Yes. We have heard that, and we don't recommend it.
Right.
Okay. And the whole reason is because Yellowdig is intended for student-led conversations and a place that lets them participate and not always have to be right. It gives them a chance to play with the information they're learning and try to get a deeper understanding of it with one another. It's not intended to be an assessment like you would have for quizzes or tests.
Right. Yes, it is a participation grade, not an assessment tool. Yeah.
Does that answer your question? We'll wait for the answer. And as we wait for what's the answer?
Yes, it is just that there. I think we're getting more to it. So good. Okay.
Okay, great. All right. So that points report. So yes, in the community health area, we did see a tab that included the points, and the points report we can be a little bit more interactive with. This is something I did on a weekly basis as an instructor. Is I came in and just checked to see how are we looking? How are we looking as a class? Are we on track? Is somebody behind? What's going on? Maybe a certain learner came up in conversation, so I can go to that show log and see exactly what it is that they're posting or not posting or getting reactions on. This can also be used to sort. You can sort by first name, last name, username. Are we sorting by points? This is a new thing that I'm just saying. It looks like our points are sorting. Yes. All right. Any questions about the points report as I go on to a couple other areas? What do we have in the chat?
Nothing really new. Oh, let's see. Topics don't expire. That's correct, meaning that students are able to earn points by commenting and interacting with topics created from a previous learning period, correct? Right. Topics do not expire, but you can set them so they are not point bearing anymore. And that's what the dotted line topics you will see that Janine's showing. If you no longer want them to get, or ever did want them to get points for asking questions, you could go into edit and check the box right there for point earning disabled. And then once that is done, you will see it goes from solid to dotted line.
Should we clarify the difference between point earning disabled and topic disabled?
Yes, let's do. So topic disabled, well, point earning is just that. They can no longer get points for using that topic tag, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to use it anymore, because they may have a question. They could use that topic tag without points, and they might have a question about management. So they will still be able to get points because they've used a topic tag that is a point bearing topic tag. But if you put topic disabled, the one above point earning disabled, they will no longer see that as a choice to choose from when they're creating their post. The reason this may be used is because maybe they've exhausted a specific topic tag, and you would prefer them no longer to have that choice of using that topic tag. And we would suggest to use topic disabled rather than deleting the topic altogether.
Okay, so let's do a little bit of fun here. So right now we have sustainability at the top. I'm going to move thinking, language, and intelligence to the top. And right now, sustainability, we would see it in the second. It would show up second. If I click edit and I disable this topic, we will not see sustainability in the list. Right. So once these have updated, we'll go back to our community and we will create, and then we'll go to those. Notice that it is not there anymore. Sustainability is not there, and thinking and language and intelligence is at the top. Why would we want to do these things? Why would we want to reorganize topics?
Oh, I think because when your students go in to create a topic, they may not read all the way down every topic, but if you want them to really focus on like the first 6 or so, just putting those ones to the top that maybe haven't been discussed that much, or you want them to really focus on a little bit more. Like anything, if it's the top and the first few things they see, it's going to come to mind sooner than the ones clear down at the list.
Great. Thank you. It looks like we got some more chats in. What were they?
Let's see. We're good. Just thank you for the response.
You're welcome. Okay, good. Now, there is something else in here, which I don't know if everybody's aware of, but under activity, if you click activity feed, you will see a list of everything that's been done in your community, not just you, but everyone. I used to use this again. We're in that model of, all right, once a week, I've got a little bit more time. What are we doing in Yellowdig? So I used to use this to take a look and see what was going on, what's going on. And then if you want to go to that conversation, you just click on the word post and it will bring you to the community feed and to that posting. So that, just as a reminder for everybody, that's under activity and activity feed. Or if you're looking for a particular file, you can click by posted files. And that's a really helpful tool actually for the learners in the class as well, if they're looking for some files. So for example, somebody posted something or shared something and we want to find it again. I know I spent about, 25% of our day looking for files, right? So that's a nice, easy way to find it. Something else that's going on now that some learners are participating, perhaps some are not. If you go under settings and reminders, it will show you people who have received a notification that they have not participated in the amount of time that you selected, which in this case is 5 days. So people who will receive a notification, how many notifications since their last activity. So this is kind of this is also really easy to see who isn't participating through the reminders as well.
Yeah, please let us know if you'd like clarification on anything we talked about or any questions. Or Sarah, thanks for sharing some best practices that you've used as well as far as pinning those stellar posts to the top. I love that. So those of you that have used Yellowdig and have found joy in some things that you've done, please share.
Yeah, we appreciate that. So kind of to bring us back to where we were. So Deborah showed you, she didn't show you her big cup of coffee. That is actually pretty fun when she shows us that. But she's got her big cup of coffee and she's scrolling. She's looking through the feed. She's making those comments. She's giving out accolades. She's doing reactions. Maybe she's pinning posts. Maybe she's copying a permalink and sharing it in her LMS. And then what I showed you was more of all right, maybe once a week or every couple weeks, I want to really understand what's going on in my community. And so what some of those reports are, which are under data, and how that can be helpful. Anything else come in before I stop sharing?
Let's see. Sarah said, is there a way that I can log into Yellowdig without going into Blackboard to access it? I used to be able to do this, but it doesn't seem to work now. Sarah, you should still be able to do that. We know the first time, like for students and you to use Yellowdig, you need to go through the LMS system. So the LMS system talks to Yellowdig and connects that information that's needed for the grade passback.
So if you copy that URL from here, and then you should be able to access that through that link.
Right. Because it's just a web link, right?
Yeah. And Sarah, if that's not happening, feel free to submit a ticket to our support team for more questions on that.
Yes, please do. And that's another good point. If there are any questions your students have, technical questions or issues that they may be having or struggles, please, we want you to enjoy the Yellowdig community, not have to deal with that, although we don't have many that have had that experience. But please submit a help desk ticket. So good about getting back to students and instructors quickly. So yes, there it is. So don't hesitate to jump into the support at yellowdig.com.
Yeah. And then for I know that we have some instructional designers out there. When you're supporting especially new instructors, we have recently updated our instructor course. And that's just at learn.yellowdig.com. It's called Instructor and Designer course, Instructor Designer. You'll probably hear us refer to it as IDC. And that's it's about 1 hour, and it has an overview of Yellowdig, not only of how Yellowdig works as a system, but also our philosophy and pedagogy. Because we recognize that is actually one of the challenges is that shift in mindset to giving learners the agency to make those connections and lead conversations.
Right. And to truly be that guide on the side that enjoys your community by being an active community member. And a lot of times, I know as instructors, as an instructor, Janine and I both, we felt like maybe we weren't doing enough, but being an active community member and enjoying the conversations about course relevant topics, is really enough. And you'll find out the joy that you have and your students, because we've heard so many times they just feel more connected to the students, even on a personal level, because they have that, I don't know, that organic conversation that happens in Yellowdig.
Yeah. And I think actually one of the things that I just checked out, again, I just checked out a new community. And when I described it, there were a lot of dog pictures, a lot of pet pictures, dog and cat, for their introductions, because people really like to share that part of their lives. And Sarah, thank you. I'm glad that you've had great experiences with our support team, which Lawrence will be joining here shortly. You've got a lot to live up to, because we do have a great, very small, but great support team. So thank you for that. I'm going to stop sharing. That is all we have planned to cover. But if anyone has any of those last minute questions you want to put either in the Q&A or in the chat, we're happy to hang back for a few minutes. But again, we know what a busy time of the year this is. So thank you for taking time out, and we hope you found this valuable.
Yes. Yeah, I will just agree with that and piggyback off Janine. And again, thanks for coming today. We appreciate you. And if you have anything you need help with, or just want to bounce and brainstorm ideas off of, we're here. We're here for that. So
yeah, we love that. That's actually what gets us excited, talking about, especially hearing about each individual class's topics. That's the most fun.
And creative accolades, I must say.
Yeah. Yeah. So have a good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.